Have you watched The Accountant with Ben Affleck?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it your favorite movie?
It's a fun one. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's a fun one. So
Remember when he was sitting with, there's a couple, and he's asking her, he's like, do you work at home? Do you use your kitchen as an office? And she's like, no. He's like,
yeah,
just not.
My favorite, I do love that, because my favorite is when I'm working with the client and I say, do you do that? And they say, well, no, but I can. I'm like, that's the right answer. How can you? And that's what I do, is I help people shift their mentality and shift how they operate and say, look, if you're almost there with this strategy. So if we just tweak one or two behavioral things in how you operate, there's huge tax strategies, huge tax advantages that you can get. I would say with roofers, this is one that's missed quite often. There's a tax credit. And do you know the difference between a credit and a deduction?
Explain. I have my understanding, but
a credit is a dollar for dollar value of tax. So if you owe $10,000 in tax and you have a $10,000 credit, that takes your bill that you have to write a check to the government down to zero. A deduction, if you have a $10,000 deduction, that just reduces your income and reduces what you're taxed on.
Got it.
So a credit is way more valuable than a deduction. Deductions are great, and that's what Mia and her team are tracking, the deductions to reduce your income. But a credit is just super powerful. So there's a credit, and this is really common in the blue collar space, that if you hire people within a certain demographic, so qualified disabled veteran, somebody that's been on long-term unemployment or long-term public assistance, or convicted felons, that people that have a record, right? So if you hire somebody that falls into one of those categories, you can claim the Workers' Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC. And there's a credit that's available for the first 2 years that you hire that person, that you can claim for hiring and paying them to work for you. It's not a huge credit. It's, a couple $1,000s per qualified person. And if you hire 100 people a year, obviously not everybody's going to be a veteran or, a convicted felon, but you might have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people during the year that, if you're hiring 100 to 200 people a year, you might have somebody that qualifies for that. So if you can implement, what I help with is, on that strategy, you have to implement the screening process, and you have to identify those people before you hire them to be able to claim the credit. So I help people identify in their processes, hey, do you hire people on a regular basis? Do you have seasonal people that come and go? That happens a lot in the roofing industry. So if you're missing this credit, if you could get 2, 3, 10,000, between 4 or 5 people, $10,000 a year in this missed credit, well, that drops your tax bill by 10 grand. And that 2,000 here, 5,000 here, 3,000 here, that all adds up to, on average, I'm helping people cut their tax bills by a little over 40%.